Hi, my name is Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. Have you made a New Year's resolution? It's interesting. A lot of people don't really want to admit that they do. But I think a lot do actually make New Year's resolutions. How do I know this? Because I go to the YMCA. And every January, there's always this flood of new people coming into the gym. And if I just hang on long enough, by the end of February, it's gone back to normal. See, in that inrush, I can't get to the machines that I normally want to get to. And every time I turn around to do something, I'm obstructed by new people. And it can get frustrating. As I say, you just hang in there long enough and people kind of just disappear, which is kind of sad when you think about it. I was reading a Forbes magazine that said only 8% of people actually carry through with their New Year's resolutions. And that most of the time, most of us don't actually get them done, which is, again, sad. Because these New Year's resolutions have in them a yearning for growth in life. They signal to us that we want to better ourselves. We want to be called out to our best selves. And yet sometimes in the midst of bringing the new in, it just kind of gets overwhelmed by what we already do and know. I came across an article, as they say in Forbes, and it was by this guy named Paul Marciano, the psychologist. And he had 7 keys to fulfilling your goals. And I want to just read them to you because I think they're quite interesting. He says, make specific goals, not generalistic goals, make specific goals. That's the critical point. Schedule it in to your life. Measure progress. Make your goal concrete enough that you can actually know whether you're succeeding at it or not. Share your goal with friends and family. Be patient with the change. Remember, something is better than nothing. You know, we live in this all or nothing world, and sometimes we get despair because we don't have the all, so we give up. And finally, get up when you slip up, because you're going to slip up. That's inevitable. It's what you do when you're down that matters most. And I was looking at these 7 goals in the context of Christian discipleship, following Jesus. At Trillium, we understand discipleship in a very simple way. God's hands us. Therefore, discipleship is joining with Jesus in being God's hands in the world. And I was thinking about how I might call the congregation here at Trillium, each of us individually and as a community, to grow in a new way, to make a New Year's resolution in discipleship and being God's hands in the world. And it would begin with something very specific in our lives. You know, we need to make a specific goal. So for instance, if I say something like, I want to be a better person, or I want to be a nicer person, or I want to be a more generous person, according to Marciano, that's too general. That's too generalistic. You need to be more specific. I want to be generous with my time. Seems a little better. I want to be generous with my time in caring for people I don't know very well. Now we're getting a little bit more specific. The more specific you can make it, the more likely you can carry it about. For instance, the Scouts have a very simple model. Do one good deed a day. That's their practice, and it's very measurable, and it's very easy to know whether you've accomplished it or not. And then, according to Marciano, once we've come up with this specific goal or resolution for ourselves, we need to schedule it into our lives. You know, if you go to the gym, you need to schedule it into your life. If you want to get into better physical health, you better start planning to put it into your schedule in the same way that you'd put your doctor's appointments in. You're reluctant to change doctor's appointments, and we should be reluctant to change the schedule that's built around this new practice in our life. And then finally, it seems to me this notion of being able to measure our progress is so important. How do you know, for instance, if you want to be a kinder person, whether you're pulling it off or not? How can you know that? Like, what are the measurements that would allow you to know whether you're advancing in something or not? For instance, if your goal is to do 50 push-ups without having to stop, well, that's fairly measurable, and you can figure out whether you're accomplishing it. And it seems to me if we're going to follow Jesus, we need to design our goals and our aspirations in a manner that we can actually figure out whether we're pulling it off. We're actually growing in it. You know, so many people don't make New Year's resolutions anymore because they're discouraged. They've kind of given up. They've failed at it so many times that it's not even really worth putting themselves on the line like it was in the past. It seems to me, though, that if we're committed to our growth as followers of Christ, that we should be willing to make these goals and resolutions a part of our practice. And it begins with making very clear, specific, intentional decisions about how we are going to live in the world and how we're going to bring about the change in our lives.